spoiler warning, out of theater, raw movie reaction and review of the Fantastic Four First Steps. You already know the gist. Let's go right into this. This movie I watched 2 days after going to see Superman, and both being, very fantastic superhero kind of movies. It was interesting for sure. I'm going to talk about this movie, of course, on its own. I'm not going to compare it to others. But Fantastic Four is a story that I think was overall, pretty well. I think they wrote it pretty well. I have some pros and cons with this movie, but I will come out with the get-go with this. The 4 members of the Fantastic Four, all 4 of them, amazing characters. All the dynamics between them were incredible. My favorite character personally was Sue. I think she was incredible. All the acting performances too, I think, were on point in this movie. I really liked all the different plot points, and normally, I'll be honest, I feel like sometimes with movies they tend to force a baby into the plot to be a plot point. This one, I feel like it works. Having the baby as a focal point, yeah, it's kind of a plot device, but the baby being born, I'm also glad the baby was born not at the end. They try and save, oh yeah, now you're finally birthed toward the end. It actually got birthed in the secondary act, I'd say, in the movie, and it was a plot point for the rest of the movie. And there was a whole end credit scene with the baby that I'll briefly go over at the end. But I think all the acting performances were great. It was nice to see Joseph Quinn in this movie. I think the first thing I ever saw him in was as Eddie Munson in Stranger Things. So seeing him here was definitely it took me a minute because I had to disassociate him as Eddie, obviously. So it took a while, but after that, I truly saw him now as Johnny Storm, and he was amazing as well. He almost brought a side of comic relief, but he was also very smart and intelligent. Overall, I liked kind of the world building. I liked how they went to visit Galacticus, if that was his name, and this other universe, other part of space, but they're not up there the whole time. The introduction of this movie gives a nice backstory to them on events. And then obviously you cut to 9 months because the start of the movie confirms to you that Sue is pregnant, and then the baby happens. So there's a whole 9-month time period, and they try and get the audience to understand what's happening through just the news. They allow the news to fill the audiences, and that's really good in my opinion. I will say my biggest con of this movie, I feel just the threat was a little just too paper thin. I feel there wasn't enough depth, if that makes sense, to the whole villainous aspect. Galacticus is just a villain, and I feel that's all there is to him. He's just kind of a threat, but not with any layers, no depth. He's just kind of there to be a threat, there to be a villain. I think his sidekick, or the person that, what was her name, Shalabal, that was actually a good character. And that's another one, maybe I kind of wish that they almost humanized her a little bit more. We saw some background that Johnny Storm was also telling her about, the whole transmission scene where you had all the screens in the city overhearing it in her language. That was really nice. I did like that. I just kind of wish that they maybe humanized her a little bit more, so where we saw more of her, a little more of a redemption. But point being, yeah, I just feel the threat of this movie was just a threat. I just don't think it was a bad threat, but I think they could have done a little more with making it one with actual depth and emotional value, and just making it not just surface level. To me, it was just very surface level of just being a threat. And that's probably my only con with this movie, if I'm honest, because the main characters that you follow, which is all the Fantastic Four members, obviously, is really awesome. I absolutely loved just seeing everyone play out the way that they did. Some of the citizens were, again, they went against them because, if you guys watch the movie, you'll know this. They had to sacrifice, well, they didn't have to sacrifice it, but basically Galacticus wanted their child in return, and they didn't obviously want to do that, and so they kind of used it as bait, almost got the child. I feel this movie just had a vision, and it was a good vision. I feel I walked out of the movie though just almost maybe there should have been an additional intense act. I almost felt things just happened to point blank, point A, point B, point C, point D. I feel like we could have gotten to point E and point F maybe. I don't know. I'm not saying I don't like this movie. I'm gonna get into a lot more pause after that, but that's like pretty much all the, I guess, like kind of negative stuff I have to say, criticism wise. But rest of the movie, oh my goodness, I love the whole scenery. The CGI was really good. There wasn't really many moments where the CGI kind of let me down, in my opinion. I loved Ben Grimm, the giant just mole man character. That was really awesome. I think a lot of them had a lot of great scenes. You understand the struggles of pretty much the main character of the movie, Reed Richards. It's kind of like Reed and Sue. They're like the two main characters that you focus on, obviously, because that's the mother and the father of the child. And you start to see into their mindset. They do a good job of just making you feel their point of view. They're trying to be calculative. They're trying to obviously help save the world, and they're trying to think of ways to do it without harming the child, because that's what Galacticus wants. And you start seeing the clashes. They go really good into giving them kind of just nice argumentative scenes or just debates without it being like too just outlandish. Like, it's very like you both have good point of views, so we're hearing you out, and it's really well done in that aspect. I think this movie really is good for the Fantastic Four characters. All the casting, like I said, was absolutely amazing. They nailed it. This feels just very raw, so normally on my raw reactions, I don't go into like everything, because it's just like raw. I'm just thinking in my head, what is going through my mind right now? And this relatively, I saw the movie today, but it was like a couple hours ago since I'm recording this. So maybe I've had some time to kind of like collect my thoughts. But overall, if I give this movie a rating, I think I gave it a 7 out of 10, and I'm going to stick with that. Like, I walked out of the theater, I'm like, oh yeah, that's a 7 out of 10. But I think that's a fair rating. Because I did mention a bunch of the criticisms that I had with the movie, but the criticisms I don't think outweigh the positives. I still have more positives than raw criticisms. There was some nice other characters too. Herbie, shout out to Herbie. Like, I really liked Herbie. He was a really fun character too. You had that Rachel woman who had a nice relationship with Ben Grimm. That was really nice. Harvey as well. I feel like I recognized him from somewhere. I don't know for sure, but I'm so positive he might have been Stingray from the Cobra Kai series on Netflix. Possibly. He looked really similar to that. But yeah, overall, I think a really nice family-oriented movie, and I think that's what made this movie really work, by the way. The fact that it was family-oriented really helped this movie go along. The stakes were there. There was an emotional scene with one of the Fantastic Four characters near the end where you don't know what the fate is for them, or you almost think that you're seeing their fate, and it's like a cop-out almost. You really just feel the weight, because you're almost thinking, oh my god, did they actually go this direction? And then they maybe did or maybe didn't. You'll have to see it, but you guys probably know what I'm talking about. And I guess we'll end this whole just raw feeling about this movie and the reaction on the whole end credit sequence. There's 2 end credit scenes, but I feel like the second one is kind of a little less pointless to talk about. The first one, trust me, you're only watching this video if you've seen it, so don't talk about spoilers. We have confirmation that they will be returning in Avengers Doomsday. And you saw the baby seemingly healing the face of a certain someone. I will say my theater too was pretty just revelized when they saw that. But yeah, let me know if anyone out there has seen the movie, what you guys thought of it. I mean, I'm still trying to get into the groove of like reviewing movies. The more I get along with it, the more I'm really just enjoying this, and the more I'm just finding new ways to like properly convey my feelings toward these movies, because it's cool. Like, the media world is pretty thick right now. It is summertime. It's where a lot of movies drop. But yeah, Fantastic Four, not my favorite movie I've seen this year, but I think it's a solid watch for sure. I still think it's just a solid movie. I gave it a 7 out of 10, and I think it does a lot of good stuff, you know, but I'm not gonna like not say any criticisms I have. So I gave my criticisms and my positives. But overall, Fantastic Four, The First Steps, really good movie, and I'd like to see more of this universe possibly. Thank you all for watching. Peace out.